Now let's begin. Marcus Zimmerman watched his daughter's face light up as she tore through the wrapping paper, her small hands moving with the frantic energy only a 7-year-old could muster. The living room of their Westchester home was decorated with pink and gold streamers, and a half-eaten birthday cake sat on the dining table. Emma's friends from school had left an hour ago, and now it was just family. Marcus, his wife Lorraine, and her father, Wallace Matthews. A tablet, Emma shrieked, holding up the sleek device. "Grandpa, thank you." Wallace smiled, the kind of indulgent smile that had always made Marcus slightly uncomfortable, though he could never pinpoint why. The older man was 72, recently retired from a career in corporate law, with silver hair and the bearing of someone who'd spent decades getting his way in boardrooms. "Just for games, sweetheart," Wallace said, patting Emma's head. "I already loaded it with some educational ones. Nothing too advanced." Lorraine kissed her father's cheek. "Dad, you spoil her." "That's what grandfathers do," Wallace replied, his eyes meeting Marcus's briefly. There was something in that look, a challenge, maybe, or assessment. Marcus had noticed it before, especially in the past 6 months. Marcus had met Lorraine 9 years ago at a charity fundraiser. She'd been volunteering, and he'd been there representing the architecture firm where he worked. She was beautiful, intelligent, from a wealthy family, and Marcus, raised by a single mother in Queens after his father died when he was 12, had felt like he'd won the lottery. They married within a year. He'd built his own firm 3 years ago, specializing in sustainable residential design. It was modest compared to the Matthews family wealth, but it was his. Wallace had never quite approved of the marriage. Marcus knew this, though it was never stated outright. It was in the subtle comments, the way Wallace would mention other men, lawyers, doctors, executives, in Lorraine's presence. The way he'd offer to help with finances, as if Marcus couldn't provide for his own family. "I love it, Grandpa." Emma was already swiping at the screen, her previous gifts, a bicycle from Marcus and Lorraine, books from her aunt, temporarily forgotten. "Don't stay on it too long tonight, Em," Marcus said, squatting down to her level. "It's already past your bedtime." "Ah, Dad. 20 minutes. Then sleep." "Deal. Deal." She hugged him, and Marcus felt the familiar warmth in his chest. Emma was his world. When she was born, something had shifted in him. Every decision he made, every project he took on, was filtered through one question. Would this make her proud? After Emma went to bed, Marcus cleaned up while Lorraine walked Wallace to his car. Through the window, he watched them talk in the driveway, their conversation appearing serious. Lorraine's body language was tense. When she came back inside, she seemed distracted. "Everything okay?" Marcus asked. "Fine. Dad was just giving advice about Emma's school." "What kind of advice?" "Nothing important." "I'm tired, Marcus. Let's go to bed." That night, lying next to Lorraine in the dark, Marcus replayed the evening. Something felt off, but he couldn't identify it. Maybe he was being paranoid. Work had been stressful, a major client was demanding revisions, and he'd been putting in long hours. The next morning, Marcus was in his home office reviewing blueprints when Emma appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas. "Morning, princess. Want pancakes?" "Daddy, can you help me with the tablet? Some of the apps are confusing." "Sure thing." He followed her to the living room, where the tablet sat on the coffee table. Emma had already figured out most of the games, but one icon confused her. It looked like a standard file manager, buried in a folder. "I don't know what this does," she said. Marcus opened it. The tablet had significant storage, and as he scrolled through, he saw it had previously been used. There were old files that hadn't been deleted. Wallace must have reset it, but not wiped it completely. Careless, Marcus thought. Then he saw a folder labeled L Plans. Something made him open it. Maybe curiosity. Maybe instinct. Inside were voice recordings. Dozens of them, dated over the past 8 months. He clicked one at random, from 3 months ago. Wallace's voice filled the room. "Don't think you understand the urgency, Lorraine. Every day that passes, he becomes more entrenched. The firm is in his name. The house is joint. If you want out, we need to move before he can." Marcus's hand froze. He looked at Emma, who was watching cartoons on the TV now, oblivious. He grabbed earbuds from his desk and returned, hands shaking slightly as he plugged them in. He listened to the rest of the recording. Lorraine's voice, "I know, Dad. But it's not that simple. Emma loves him. Emma is 7. Children adapt. You're the one who's suffered, darling. Married to a man who can barely keep his firm afloat, who came from nothing, He's a good father. He's adequate. But you deserve better. We've discussed this. The documentation we've prepared shows a pattern of emotional instability. Dr. Hendricks will testify he's been treating Marcus for anger issues. But he hasn't. Marcus has never even met Hendricks. Hendricks owes me favors. The medical records will be sufficient. Once we establish that Marcus is unfit, mentally unstable, possibly dangerous, you'll get full custody. And with the prenup you signed under duress, which Morrison can argue in court, you'll get a significant settlement. Marcus stopped the recording. His vision blurred at the edges. He became aware of his breathing, shallow, rapid. He counted to 10, a technique his mother taught him years ago when anxiety threatened to overwhelm him. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. He opened another recording from 6 weeks ago. Wallace, the timeline is set. We'll initiate in 3 months. Morrison has all the documentation ready. The police report of the domestic incident will be filed by Lorraine next month. She'll stay with me for a few days. Bring Emma. Claims she feared for her safety. Dad, I don't know if I can do that. Marcus has never. It doesn't matter what he's done or hasn't done. It matters what we can prove in court. And with my connections, with the right judge, this will be swift. You'll be free. Emma will be safe from his influence. And the financial settlement will ensure you never have to worry again. There were more. Recordings of Lorraine and Wallace discussing how to manipulate Marcus's business relationships, how to isolate him from his friends, how to document erratic behavior. In one, dated just 2 weeks ago, they discussed medication, how Lorraine might begin slipping something into his coffee to make him actually appear unstable. Marcus sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Emma was still watching TV, laughing at something on screen. His daughter, his wife, his life. All of it a lie. No, not all of it. Emma was real. His love for her was real. And that was what mattered. He carefully saved all the recordings to a separate cloud account, then deleted the browsing history on the tablet. His hands were steady now. Something had clicked into place in his mind. A cold, clear focus he'd only felt a few times in his life. Once when his mother was diagnosed with cancer during his college years, and he'd had to manage her care while finishing his degree. Once when he'd started his firm with nothing but a laptop and a dream. I think you've got it figured out now, he said, his voice normal, casual. Why don't you go play in your room for a bit? Daddy has some work to do. Okay. She skipped off, tablet in hand. Marcus went to his office and closed the door. He sat at his desk and pulled up a notepad, began writing everything he'd heard, every detail. He'd built a career on precision, on seeing how all the pieces of a structure fit together. This was no different. Wallace Matthews, 72. Wealthy, connected, arrogant. A man who'd spent his whole life controlling people, manipulating systems. Who saw Marcus as beneath his daughter, an impediment to be removed. Lorraine, his wife. The woman who'd promised to love him, who'd given him Emma. How much of it had been real? Had she ever loved him? Or had she always seen him the way her father did? A mistake to be corrected? The doctor they mentioned, Hendricks. The lawyer, Morrison. How many people were involved in this conspiracy? And the timeline. They'd said 3 months, and that recording was from 6 weeks ago, which meant he had 6 weeks before Lorraine filed the false police report. 6 weeks before they tried to destroy his life. Marcus pulled up his computer and began researching. Dr. Richard Hendricks, psychiatrist, Park Avenue office, graduated from Columbia. Several reviews mentioned his work in custody cases. Marcus found 3 instances where Hendricks had testified that fathers were unfit, all in cases where Wallace's law firm had been involved. Interesting. Andrew Morrison, divorce attorney, partner at Morrison & Associates. Ruthless reputation. Expensive. Very expensive. Marcus made more notes. Then he opened his phone and scrolled through his contacts. He stopped at a name, Joel Post. Joel and Marcus had gone to college together. While Marcus went into architecture, Joel had become an investigator, first for the DA's office, now private. They'd stayed friends, met for drinks every few months. Joel owed Marcus a favor from 2 years ago when Marcus had testified as an expert witness in a property case that helped Joel's client. He typed a message, "Need to talk. Urgent. Can you meet tomorrow?" The response came within minutes. 1 p.m., usual place? See you then. Marcus deleted the message thread and sat back in his chair. Through the door, he could hear Lorraine moving around downstairs, preparing lunch. His wife, the woman sleeping next to him, eating meals with him, all while plotting his destruction. He thought about confronting her, demanding the truth. But that would be emotional, reactive. That would be what they'd expect from the unstable Marcus they were trying to create. No, Marcus had built a successful firm by being methodical, by planning, by seeing 10 steps ahead. This situation required the same approach. His phone buzzed. A text from Lorraine, "Lunch is ready." He stood, checked his reflection in the window. He looked normal, calm. "Good. Coming," he called out. At lunch, Emma chattered about the tablet games while Lorraine pushed salad around her plate. Marcus ate his sandwich, asked appropriate questions, smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm. "You're quiet," Lorraine said. "Just thinking about the Henderson project. They want changes to the roof design. Work is going well, though." Was there an edge to her voice? A hope that it wasn't. "Very well. Just closed another contract yesterday. The Riverside development." He watched her face. A flicker of something, annoyance? Disappointment? "That's great," she said. After lunch, Lorraine mentioned she was going to her father's house for the afternoon. He needed help organizing some old files from his office. She'd take Emma, give Marcus time to work. "Sure," Marcus said. "I could use the quiet." He watched them drive away, Emma waving from the back seat. Then he returned to his office. The recordings had more details. Lorraine discussing how she'd always felt trapped in the marriage, how her father had warned her about Marcus from the beginning, how marrying him had been an act of rebellion she now regretted. Wallace reassuring her that they'd fix it, that she'd be free soon, that Emma would be raised properly, with the right education, the right social circle, away from Marcus's lower-class influence. One recording made Marcus's jaw clench. Lorraine, laughing, "Sometimes I think about just leaving, taking Emma and going." "Wallace, you can't. Not without the legal framework." He'd fight for custody, and despite everything, he's been a present father. The courts might side with him. "No, we do this correctly. We document, we build the case, we make him look unstable. Then you're not abandoning your daughter. You're protecting her from him." Marcus saved everything, backed it up in 3 separate locations. Then he pulled up his financial records. The house was in both names, but he'd made the down payment, money from his mother's life insurance after she passed 5 years ago. The firm was solely his. His savings were separate, though they had a joint account for household expenses. He'd been smart about some things, at least. The prenup Lorraine mentioned. He remembered signing it, but it had been straightforward. His firm and personal assets remained his in case of divorce. Wallace had pushed for it, actually, claiming he wanted to protect Lorraine's family money from Marcus. The irony wasn't lost on him now. The rest of the afternoon, Marcus worked on a plan. Not revenge, not yet. First, protection. Then, once Emma was safe, once his life was secure, he'd consider what came next. By the time Lorraine and Emma returned that evening, Marcus had 4 pages of notes, 6 calls scheduled for the next week, and a clear first move. "How was Grandpa's?" he asked Emma as she hugged him. "Good. He let me organize his desk. I'm a very good organizer, Daddy." "You are, Princess. The very best." That night, after Emma was asleep, Marcus lay next to Lorraine in the dark. She was on her phone, scrolling through something. Probably texting her father. Planning his destruction. "Marcus." "Yeah. Do you ever think about the future? Where we'll be in 5 years, 10 years?" It was a loaded question. He could feel it. "Sometimes." "What?" "Just wondering. If you're happy. With everything. I have Emma. I have my work. What else would I need?" He didn't mention her. The omission hung in the air. "Right," she said quietly. "Good night." "Good night." He waited until her breathing became deep and regular. Then he carefully got out of bed and went to his office. He had 6 weeks to save his life, and he'd need every day of them. The coffee shop where Marcus met Joel Post was a small place in downtown White Plains, far enough from home that he wouldn't run into anyone he knew. Joel was already there, seated in the back corner, looking exactly as he had in college. Shaggy brown hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing, wearing a leather jacket despite the May warmth. "You look like hell," Joel said as Marcus sat down. "Bad week." The text made it sound urgent. "What's going on?" Marcus pulled out his phone, opened the cloud folder, and handed Joel an earbud. "Listen to the first 3 recordings. Then we'll talk." Joel's expression changed as he listened. By the third recording, his jaw was tight. Marcus, this is... I know what it is. When did you find these? 2 days ago. My daughter showed me something on a tablet my father-in-law gave her. He didn't wipe it properly. Joel let out a low whistle. This is attempted fraud, conspiracy, potentially criminal, depending on how they file the false report. But courts don't like men, especially in custody cases. Even with evidence, there's no guarantee I'd win. Right? And if they have a judge in their pocket, which sounds likely given the recordings, you're fighting uphill. Joel leaned back. What do you want to do? First, protect Emma. Make sure that no matter what happens, she stays with me, or at minimum, isn't solely with them. Smart. Second, make sure they can't destroy me financially or professionally. And third, Marcus met his friend's eyes. Make them pay. Joel nodded slowly. Okay, let's start with protection. You need your own attorney, but not someone who'll tip them off. I know someone, Corey Lawrence. Former prosecutor, now does family law. He's discreet and doesn't scare easy. Can you set up a meeting? Today? This afternoon if he's free. Joel pulled out his phone. What else? The doctor, Hendricks. The attorney, Morrison. I want to know everything about them. Finances, cases, connections to Wallace. I'll dig. What about your wife? Marcus paused. What about her? You said protect Emma. But Lorraine is still her mother. If you destroy Lorraine completely, that hurts Emma too. It was a good point. One Marcus had been wrestling with for 2 days. I don't want to destroy Lorraine, Marcus said carefully. I want to stop her from destroying me. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, she's as guilty as her father. She's being manipulated. The recordings, you heard them. Wallace is driving this. She's not fighting him very hard. No, she's not. Marcus rubbed his face. Look, I need time to think about that part. Right now, I need to ensure they can't execute their plan. Okay, I'll start with Hendricks and Morrison. Financial records, past cases, any dirt we can find. What's your timeline? Based on the recordings, they're planning to file the false police report in about 5.5 weeks. That's when this goes public. So we have 5 weeks to prepare. Right. Joel made notes on his phone. One more thing. You're going to have to act normal at home. Can you do that? Marcus thought about the past 2 days. Breakfast with Lorraine and Emma. Dinner. Bedtime routines. All while knowing what he knew. I can do it. Good. Because if they sense you're onto them, they might accelerate the timeline. Or get more vicious. Understood. They finished their coffee, and Joel promised updates within 24 hours. Marcus drove home, mind racing. He had Corey Lawrence's number now. A meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. When he got home, Emma was in the backyard on her new bicycle, Lorraine watching from the patio. How was your meeting? Lorraine asked. Good. Client wants to move forward with the Riverside project. You had a client meeting on a Saturday? They're only free on weekends. She nodded, but there was suspicion in her eyes. Or maybe he was imagining it. I'm going to help Emma practice, Marcus said. She's still wobbly on 2 wheels. He spent the next hour in the yard with his daughter, holding the bike's seat as she pedaled, running alongside her, catching her when she fell. She laughed, fearless, trusting him completely. This was what mattered. This was what he was fighting for. That evening, after Emma was in bed, Marcus's phone rang. Wallace. Marcus. I hope I'm not calling too late. Not at all. What can I do for you? I wanted to discuss Emma's education. Lorraine and I have been talking, and we think it might be time to consider private school. Somewhere with more structure. Structure. Code for control. She's happy at PS 128. Great teachers, good friends. Yes, but the quality of education is excellent. I've reviewed their curriculum, and Emma is thriving. A pause. Of course. I simply wanted to present the option. Perhaps we could discuss it further. Lunch this week. It was a test. Seeing if Marcus would comply, would defer to Wallace's judgment. I'm swamped with work this week. Maybe next month. Another pause. Longer this time. Certainly. We'll talk soon. The call ended. Marcus knew that conversation would be reported back to Lorraine, analyzed, added to their mental list of Marcus's difficult behavior. Let them think he was being stubborn. Let them think they were still in control. He had other plans. Corey Lawrence's office was in a discreet building in Scarsdale, the kind of place where high-net-worth individuals handled sensitive matters away from prying eyes. Corey himself was in his mid-40s, with the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen every variation of human dysfunction. Joel sent me the preliminary information. Corey said after Marcus sat down. This is elaborate. Can they actually pull it off? Marcus asked. If they have the right judge, the right doctor willing to lie, and your wife is convincing enough? Yes, absolutely. Family court is unpredictable at best, biased at worst. Mothers generally have an advantage, and if they paint you as unstable or dangerous, even baseless accusations can stick long enough to destroy your custody rights. So what do I do? First, we preserve evidence. Everything you found on that tablet, we need authenticated copies. I'll have a forensic specialist make certified backups. Second, we document everything. From this moment forward, you keep a journal. Every interaction with your wife, her father, anyone connected to this. Dates, times, what was said. Third, we build our own case. Our own case. We show you're a stable, involved father. We gather evidence of your good character, your financial stability, your relationship with Emma, letters from her teachers, doctors, friends. We create a record that contradicts whatever narrative they're building. Marcus nodded. What about going on offense? You mean exposing their plot? Yes. Corey leaned back in his chair. That's tricky. If you confront them now, they'll deny everything. The recordings might not be admissible. They could argue they're taken out of context, or that they were speaking hypothetically. And if you show your hand too early, they'll destroy evidence and accelerate their timeline. So I wait. You wait. You document. You prepare. And when they make their move, when Lorraine files that false police report, then we destroy them. We present the recordings, we show premeditation, we reveal the conspiracy. At that point, it's not he said she said. It's proof of fraud. And Emma stays with me. If we play this right, yes. Not only does Emma stay with you, but Lorraine's credibility is shredded. Possibly her relationship with Emma too, once your daughter is old enough to understand what her mother tried to do. That thought should have brought Marcus satisfaction. Instead, it just made him sad. Emma loved her mother. How would this affect her? I know what you're thinking, Corey said. You're worried about the impact on your daughter. That's natural. But Marcus, consider the alternative. If they succeed, Emma grows up believing you're unstable, dangerous, unfit. She grows up under Wallace's influence, shaped by his values. Is that better? No. Then we fight. And we fight smart. Marcus left with a plan. Daily journal entries. Character references. Financial documentation. And most importantly, a strategy for when, not if, Lorraine made her move. Joel called that afternoon with preliminary information on Hendricks and Morrison. Hendricks is interesting, Joel said. 6 figures in debt from a gambling problem. 3 mortgages on a house he can't afford. He's been involved in 8 custody cases in the past 2 years, all of them referred by Wallace's former firm. And in every case, he testified against the father. So he's bought. Looks like it. Morrison is cleaner on the surface, but I found connections to 3 shell companies that trace back to Wallace. I think Wallace has been funneling him money for years. Can we prove it? Give me 2 weeks. But Marcus, this gets complicated. If we expose Hendricks and Morrison, we expose a lot of other people. Judges who took their testimony. Lawyers who worked with them. This could be bigger than just your case. I don't care about bigger. I care about Emma. I know. Just be prepared. When this breaks, it's going to make waves. That evening, Marcus sat at dinner with Lorraine and Emma, listening to his daughter talk about school, watching his wife smile and nod and play the role of loving mother. She was good at it. He'd give her that. Marcus, my father mentioned you turned down his lunch invitation, Lorraine said after Emma left the table. I have a deadline on the Riverside project. You always have a deadline. Maybe you should make time. Family is important. I agree. That's why I'm here every night for dinner instead of working late. Her lips thinned. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? Nothing. Forget it. But she wouldn't forget it. It would become another mark against him. Refusing to engage with family. Prioritizing work over relationships. All carefully documented for the case they were building. Marcus excused himself and went to his office. He pulled out the journal Corey had given him and made his first entry. May 15th, 7:45 p.m. Lorraine asked about lunch with Wallace. I declined due to work. She seemed annoyed. Earlier today, Emma's teacher, Grace French, called to compliment Emma's recent improvement in reading. Emma is happy, well-adjusted, thriving. No signs of distress from home environment. He continued writing, documenting the day, the week, Everything that contradicted the image of an unstable father. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Corey. Forensic specialist will contact you tomorrow to get the tablet. Don't delete anything. And Marcus, stay strong." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since finding those recordings, he felt like he wasn't alone in this fight. 3 weeks passed. Marcus settled into a routine, work during the day, family time in the evening, evidence gathering at night. He met with Joel twice more, reviewed Corey's documentation, prepared character references. Emma's second-grade teacher, Grace French, agreed to write a letter describing Marcus's involvement in Emma's education. His business partner, Philip Reed, documented Marcus's professional stability and character. Even Emma's pediatrician, Dr. Tara Pratt, provided a statement about Emma's well-being and Marcus's attentive parenting. Meanwhile, Joel dug deeper into Wallace's network. The picture that emerged was damning. A web of connections involving at least 4 family court judges, 3 psychiatrists including Hendricks, and multiple attorneys. Wallace had been manipulating custody cases for years, helping wealthy mothers divorce their husbands and retain full custody, all for fees and favors. "This isn't just about you," Joel said during their third meeting. "Your father-in-law has been doing this for at least a decade. I found 7 cases with similar patterns. Mothers suddenly claiming abuse or instability, Hendricks or his associates providing expert testimony, Wallace's network of attorneys handling the cases, favorable judges ruling quickly. It's systematic. Can we expose it? We can. But again, it's going to create chaos. You sure you want to open that box?" Marcus thought about the other fathers, men who'd lost their children to Wallace's schemes, men whose lives had been destroyed by false accusations. "Yes," he said, "we expose all of it." At home, Lorraine was becoming more agitated. Small arguments became frequent, about Emma's schedule, about money, about Marcus's work hours. He documented everything, stayed calm, refused to escalate. He knew what she was doing, creating a pattern of conflict, building a narrative of a troubled marriage. One evening, Wallace came for dinner. Emma was excited to see her grandfather, but Marcus noticed Lorraine's tension. They were getting close to the timeline. "Marcus," Wallace said over dessert, "I've been thinking about your firm. The Riverside project, that's ambitious. Are you sure you're not overextending? The project is well-funded and on schedule. Still, expanding too quickly can be risky. If you'd like, I could review your business plan. Offer some advice. I have advisors. But thank you. Of course. I only want to help. Your family." The word felt like acid. Family. This man who was plotting to take his granddaughter away from her father, who was bribing doctors and lawyers, who'd built a career on destroying families. And he had the audacity to talk about family. But Marcus smiled. "I appreciate that, Wallace." After Wallace left, Lorraine was quiet. Marcus found her in the bedroom, staring out the window. "You were rude to my father," she said. "I was polite. You brushed him off. He was trying to help. I don't need his help." "Maybe that's the problem, Marcus. You never need anyone's help. You're so determined to do everything yourself, to prove something." "Prove what?" She turned to face him. "That you're good enough. That you deserve to be part of this family." There it was. The truth underneath all the pretense. "I don't need to prove anything to Wallace. Or to you. That's exactly what I'm talking about. This arrogance, She stopped herself. "I'm going to bed." Marcus waited until she was asleep, then went to his office and made another journal entry. The arguments were escalating. The timeline was approaching. 3 days later, Joel called with an update. "I found something. Morrison's shell company made a payment to Judge Katrina Boone last month. $50,000, disguised as a consulting fee. Boone is a family court judge, right? Right. And she's presided over 3 of Wallace's cases in the past 2 years. All resulted in fathers losing custody. So she's the judge they're planning to use. Most likely. But Marcus, this is federal corruption territory. If we expose this..." "I know. Bigger than my case. I get it. I just want you to be sure. Because once we go down this road, there's no going back." Marcus thought about Emma. About the other children caught in Wallace's schemes. About the fathers who'd lost everything. "I'm sure." "Okay. Then we prepare. Corey thinks they'll make their move within 2 weeks based on the timeline and the recordings. I'll be ready." But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. That Friday, Marcus came home from a meeting to find Emma crying in her room, Lorraine comforting her. His heart seized. What happened? Lorraine looked up, and there was something in her expression, guilt, maybe, or fear. Emma had an incident at school. Another child pushed her. She's fine, just shaken up. Marcus knelt beside his daughter. Em, are you okay? She nodded, wiping her eyes. Madison pushed me because I wouldn't share my tablet. She said I was being mean. Were you being mean? No. I just wanted to finish my game first. Okay. It's okay to set boundaries, but we also need to share with friends. Next time, maybe tell Madison she can use it after you're done with your game. Okay, Daddy. He hugged her, and she clung to him. Over her head, he met Lorraine's eyes. She looked away. Later, after Emma was asleep, Lorraine said, I'm taking Emma to my father's tomorrow. Just for the day. Why? Because I want to. Do I need your permission? There it was again. The hostility bubbling to the surface. No. But I'd like to come too. That's not necessary. I want to spend time with my daughter. You'll have time when we get back. They stared at each other. Marcus knew what this was, another move in their game. Taking Emma to Wallace's house, probably to coach her, to plant ideas. Fine, he said. But I want her home by 5 p.m. We'll see. That night, Marcus barely slept. Something was shifting. They were moving faster than expected. The next morning, he watched Lorraine drive away with Emma, and the moment they were out of sight, he called Joel. I think it's happening soon. Maybe this week. What makes you say that? Lorraine's behavior. She's more hostile, more erratic. Taking Emma to Wallace's. Something's changed. Okay, I'll put Corey on alert. And Marcus, don't do anything reactive. Stick to the plan. I will. But at noon, his phone rang. Lorraine. Marcus, we need to talk. About what? I'm at my father's. I think we need some space. Emma and I are going to stay here for a few days. Here we go, Marcus thought. The setup. Space? Lorraine, what are you talking about? I can't do this right now. We'll talk later. She hung up. Marcus immediately called Corey. She just made her move, Marcus said. Took Emma to Wallace's house. Says they need space. This is it. She's establishing a separation. The police report will come in the next 48 hours. Are you at home? Yes. Stay there. Don't go to Wallace's house. Don't make any aggressive moves. I'm going to file an emergency custody motion Monday morning, but for now, we wait. Emma is with them. I know. But legally, Lorraine has as much right to Emma as you do. If you try to take her back forcefully, it plays into their hands. We have to be smart. Marcus wanted to argue. Every instinct told him to drive to Wallace's house, take his daughter, protect her. But Corey was right. Playing into their narrative would only hurt him. How long do I wait? Until they make their move. Then we respond. Trust me, Marcus. We're ready for this. That weekend was the longest of Marcus's life. No word from Lorraine. No contact with Emma. He called twice, left messages. Nothing. Monday morning, at 6:47 a.m., there was a knock on his door. 2 police officers stood on his porch. Marcus Zimmerman? Yes. We need you to come with us. Your wife has filed a domestic violence report. We have some questions. Marcus had been expecting this. He'd prepared for it. But standing there, seeing the officers, knowing his neighbors might be watching, it still hit hard. I'd like to call my attorney. You can do that at the station. Sir, we need you to come with us now. Marcus grabbed his phone and wallet and went with them. In the patrol car, he texted Corey, it's happening. At police station now. The response came immediately. Say nothing without me. On my way. At the station, Marcus was put in an interview room. The walls were gray, the table scarred. He'd seen rooms like this on TV, never imagined being in one. 45 minutes later, Corey arrived with another attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Brenda Miner who specialized in criminal defense. Don't say a word, Corey said. Let us handle this. The interview was brief. Lorraine had filed a report claiming Marcus had become increasingly aggressive over the past month, that she feared for her safety and Emma's, that she'd had to leave the house to protect their daughter. She cited specific incidents, arguments, raised voices, all fabricated or wildly exaggerated. My client denies these allegations completely, Brenda said. And we have evidence that Ms. Zimmerman's claims are part of a premeditated conspiracy to gain full custody and financial advantage in a divorce. The detective's eyebrows rose. Evidence. Substantial evidence. Which we'll be happy to present at the appropriate time. The interview ended with no charges filed, but a temporary restraining order was issued preventing Marcus from contacting Lorraine or coming within 500 feet of her. Additionally, temporary custody of Emma was granted to Lorraine pending a hearing. Marcus's worst fear was realized. Emma was with them. "This is temporary," Corey assured him outside the station. "We have the emergency custody hearing Thursday. We'll present everything then. The recordings, the evidence of conspiracy, all of it. The judge will see through this." What if the judge is Boone? What if she's already bought? She's not. I checked the assignment. It's Judge Leonard Clements. He's clean, has a reputation for fairness. This is good for us. Emma has been with Wallace and Lorraine for 3 days. Who knows what they're telling her? I know. But in 3 more days, we take them down. All of them. Marcus went home to an empty house. Emma's toys in the living room. Her drawings on the refrigerator. The tablet, the thing that had started all this, sitting on the coffee table. He wanted to scream. To break something. To drive to Wallace's house and take his daughter back. Instead, he sat down and pulled out his journal. He documented everything that had happened. The police interview, the restraining order, every detail. Then he called Joel. "We need everything ready for Thursday. I want to destroy them." "We will." "Marcus, I've been digging deeper. I found something else. Something big." "What?" "Wallace has been embezzling from his former firm's client trust accounts. Over $2 million in the past 5 years. I found the paper trail, shell companies, offshore accounts, the works." Marcus processed this. So not only is he manipulating custody cases, he's also stealing. Right? And if we expose it, he's looking at serious prison time. How does this help with Thursday? It gives us leverage. And it shows character. Wallace Matthews is a criminal. He's corrupt. Why would we trust him with a child when he's been stealing from clients for years? Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Not quite hope, but close. Compile everything. Every recording, every financial record, every piece of evidence. I want it all ready for Thursday. You got it. The next 3 days were excruciating. Marcus couldn't contact Emma, couldn't even drive by Wallace's house. He threw himself into work, but concentration was impossible. At night, he reviewed the case files, the recordings, the evidence. Everything was ready. Wednesday evening, Corey called. "I have the witness list finalized. We're calling Grace French, Philip Reed, and Dr. Pratt to testify about your character. Joel will present the evidence of the conspiracy, and we have a forensic accountant ready to testify about Wallace's embezzlement. What about Hendricks and Morrison? They'll be mentioned, but we're not calling them. Hendricks' connection to Wallace is documented in the recordings. Morrison might be subpoenaed later if the criminal investigation moves forward, but for now, we focus on custody. And Emma? Judge Clements will likely want to speak with her. He may ask her questions in chambers, privately. You need to be prepared that whatever Wallace and Lorraine have told her might come out. I understand. Marcus, we're going to win this. But it might get ugly first. I'm ready." Thursday morning, Marcus dressed in his best suit. He met Corey and Brenda at the courthouse at 8:30 a.m. The hearing was scheduled for 9 o'clock. In the hallway outside the courtroom, he saw them. Lorraine, looking nervous, dressed conservatively. Wallace, confident as ever, speaking with Morrison. And Emma, sitting on a bench, swinging her legs, oblivious to what was about to happen. Emma saw him. Her face lit up. "Daddy." She started to run toward him, but Lorraine grabbed her arm. "Emma, no. You can't." "But it's Daddy." Marcus's heart broke. He wanted to go to her, to hold her, to tell her everything would be okay. But the restraining order. "Your Honor is ready," a bailiff announced, opening the courtroom doors. They filed in. Marcus sat with his attorneys on one side, Lorraine and Wallace with Morrison on the other. Emma was taken to a separate room with a court-appointed child advocate. Judge Clements was in his early 60s, with gray hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. He reviewed the preliminary filings, then looked up. "This is an emergency custody hearing based on allegations of domestic violence and concerns for the child's welfare. Ms. Zimmerman, your attorney may present your case." Morrison stood. He was good. Marcus would give him that. He painted a picture of a troubled marriage, a father who was emotionally volatile, a mother who feared for her safety. He presented Lorraine's testimony, which she delivered convincingly, describing arguments, Marcus's controlling behavior, his unpredictable moods. It was all lies, but she sold it well. Then it was Corey's turn. "Your Honor, what we have here is not a case of domestic violence. It's a case of premeditated fraud, conspiracy, and manipulation. Ms. Zimmerman and her father, Wallace Matthews, have been planning this for months, planning to falsely accuse Mr. Zimmerman, destroy his reputation, and take full custody of his daughter. And we have proof. He presented the tablet, authenticated by the forensic specialist. He played 3 of the recordings in full. In the courtroom, as Wallace's voice described the plan, the false medical records, the bought testimony, the timeline, Lorraine's face went pale. Morrison objected repeatedly, but Judge Clements listened to everything. These recordings, Corey said, demonstrate clear premeditation. Ms. Zimmerman and Mr. Matthews have been conspiring to commit fraud upon this court, to make false statements to police, and to manipulate the legal system for personal gain. This is not a mother protecting her child. This is a calculated attack on a good father. Then came the character witnesses. Grace French testified that Marcus was one of the most involved parents at the school, that Emma was thriving, that she'd never seen any signs of instability. Philip Reed described Marcus as reliable, honest, and dedicated. Dr. Pratt confirmed that Emma was healthy, well-adjusted, and showed no signs of abuse or distress. Finally, Joel presented the evidence on Wallace, the shell companies, the payments to Hendricks and Morrison, the connections to Judge Boone, and the embezzlement. Wallace's face went from confident to shocked to furious. Morrison tried to object, claiming irrelevance, but Judge Clements cut him off. This speaks to Mr. Matthews' character, which is relevant given his influence on Ms. Zimmerman and his current custody of the child. Continue. By the time Corey finished, the case was clear. Lorraine and Wallace hadn't just made false accusations. They'd engaged in a criminal conspiracy involving fraud, bribery, and embezzlement. Judge Clements called a recess. When they returned 30 minutes later, he had Emma with him. She looked confused, a little scared. "Emma," the judge said gently, "I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay?" She nodded. "Do you love your daddy?" "Yes." "Has he ever hurt you? Or scared you?" "No. Daddy is nice. He helps me with my homework and plays with me." "And your mommy? Do you love her too?" "Yes." "Emma, who told you that you couldn't see your daddy this week?" She looked at Lorraine, then at Wallace. "Grandpa said Daddy was sick and needed space. Mommy said we had to stay away so he could get better." "I see. And are you happy staying at your grandfather's house?" "It's okay. But I miss Daddy. And I miss my room." Judge Clements nodded. "Thank you, Emma. You can go with Ms. French now." The child advocate took Emma out. The judge looked at Lorraine and Wallace. His expression was hard. "I have been a family court judge for 20 years. I have seen manipulation. I have seen deception. But this is egregious. Ms. Zimmerman, you have lied to this court, to the police, and to your daughter. Mr. Matthews, you have orchestrated a conspiracy that extends far beyond this case. The evidence presented today will be forwarded to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation." He turned to Marcus. "Mr. Zimmerman, I am granting you immediate full custody of Emma. The restraining order is vacated. Ms. Zimmerman, you will have supervised visitation pending further proceedings. Mr. Matthews, given the evidence of embezzlement and corruption, I am recommending your immediate arrest." 2 officers who had been standing by moved toward Wallace. Morrison stood, protesting, but it was too late. Wallace's face was red with rage. "You can't do this. I have connections, I have." "You have nothing," Judge Clements said. "Bailiff, remove Mr. Matthews from my courtroom." As Wallace was led away in handcuffs, Lorraine broke down, sobbing. Marcus felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. Emma was brought back in. She ran to Marcus, and he caught her, held her tight. "Daddy, what's happening?" "You're coming home, princess. You're coming home." The aftermath took weeks to unfold. Wallace was formally arrested and charged with embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. The investigation expanded to include Hendricks, Morrison, and Judge Boone. Hendricks lost his license. Morrison was disbarred. Boone resigned and faced criminal charges. The other cases Wallace had manipulated were reopened. 7 fathers who'd lost custody began the process of getting their children back. Lorraine pled guilty to conspiracy and fraud, receiving probation in exchange for testimony against her father. Marcus filed for divorce, which was finalized 3 months later. Lorraine retained supervised visitation with Emma once a week at a neutral location. Emma adjusted better than Marcus expected. She asked questions: why Grandpa was in jail, why mommy couldn't live with them anymore, and Marcus answered honestly, but age-appropriately. Emma was resilient. She started therapy to process everything, and gradually returned to being the happy, carefree child she'd been before. One evening, 6 months after the hearing, Marcus sat on the porch watching Emma play in the yard. She was on her bicycle, the one she'd gotten for her birthday, riding confidently now without training wheels. Joel stopped by with a six-pack of beer. They sat in silence for a while, watching Emma. "You okay?" Joel asked. "Getting there. Wallace's trial starts next month." "I know. I'm testifying. You going to be ready for that?" "Yes." Joel nodded. "You did good, Marcus. You protected your kid. That's what matters." "I know. I just wish." He trailed off. "Wish what?" "I wish Emma hadn't had to go through this. That she hadn't had to see her grandfather arrested, her mother's lies exposed. She's tough. Like her dad." Marcus smiled. "Yeah, she is." Emma rode over, skidding to a stop in front of them. "Daddy, watch this." She rode in a circle, hands off the handlebars, grinning. "That's amazing, Em." "I know. I'm the best bike rider ever." After she rode off again, Joel said, "She's going to be okay. And so are you." Marcus believed him. The trial came and went. Wallace was convicted on all counts and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Hendricks received 5 years. Morrison was disbarred and fined heavily. Judge Boone pled guilty and received probation, but was permanently barred from practicing law. The case made headlines locally, then nationally. Family court corruption scandal, read one. Father exposes conspiracy to steal his daughter, read another. Marcus gave one interview to a reporter who'd been following the case and made one statement. "I did what any parent would do to protect their child. The system failed, but we proved it could be held accountable." A year after the hearing, Marcus's firm had grown. The publicity, oddly enough, had brought him clients. People who respected what he'd done, who wanted to work with someone they saw as principled. Emma was thriving. She still saw Lorraine weekly, and their relationship was slowly rebuilding, though it would never be what it was. Lorraine had apologized to Emma, in age-appropriate terms, and was working to earn back trust. One night, putting Emma to bed, she said, "Daddy, can I ask you something?" "Always, princess." "Why did Grandpa and Mommy try to take me away from you?" It was a question he'd been expecting, but still dreaded. Sometimes people make very bad choices because they want something they shouldn't have. Your grandpa wanted control, and your mommy, she let him influence her decisions. But they were wrong, and they paid for being wrong. Do you hate them? I don't hate your mommy. I'm sad about what she did, but I know she still loves you. Your grandpa? I feel sorry for him. He let greed and pride destroy his life. Emma was quiet for a moment. I'm glad I'm with you, Daddy. Me too, Em. Me too. As he turned out her light and closed the door, Marcus thought about the past year. The fear, the anger, the planning, the execution. All of it had been worth it for this. Emma's safe, happy home. He went to his office and pulled out the journal he'd kept during those dark weeks. Page after page of documentation, evidence, careful notes. It had been his lifeline, his way of maintaining control when everything felt chaotic. Now it was just a reminder of what they'd survived. Marcus closed the journal and put it in a drawer. The past was past. What mattered now was the future, his and Emma's. And that future looked bright. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.